Hi, Denise here. Now, this is something that I really wish I knew when I was 30, and it just popped into my brain as I was, running around doing errands around town. And you can see I pulled over in my favorite park. You can see it in the rear view mirror. Um, and that is, it has to do with being authentic because people always say, be authentic, or they say, be yourself. And then when you do, sometimes there's people who get like really pissed off and you go, well, what's wrong? Am I not likable or lovable, or what am I doing wrong? Or, being authentic doesn't seem to work. So I had some thoughts about that that helped me as I got older, and I hope they help you as well. Now, the first step in being your authentic self, and it's a big one, and it's a big ask. I said in the description for this channel, it's like no easy answers necessarily, and but I think it's really true, is that and this has to do with whether it's a romantic relationship or a friendship or, professional relationships or family or whatever. And that has to do with being your authentic self. It has to do with like releasing your broken heart, like letting go of the pain and releasing it. And so that you are more emotionally available to other people, because it's so interesting when people go into what do they call that, when people go into relationships where they have a broken heart and they just jump into the next thing, rebound relationships, that's what they call it. It's like the person is like on their absolute best behavior, and then when they become their real self, their new partner is kind of ticked off. And that's why rebound relationships have a way of often not lasting, more than a couple of years. But being emotionally available is really important. And for me, like after I went through 2 marriages and 2 divorces and a relationship where the guy got physically abusive, I was like, I am willing to do absolutely anything, And I picked up this book and read it. It was called Conscious Loving. And the author's, the last name was Hendrickson. And a friend of mine recommended that I read this book. And I read this chapter, and it said you have to be willing to let go of all the pain and everything. And I had a panic attack on the spot. I'd never had a panic attack in my life before, but honestly, it's like, it seems like when it comes to things that have to do with personal growth or getting better, it's like, I'm willing to get a new look, and I'm willing to do this, and I'm willing to do that, but oh my God, like let go of the pain that I've been carrying around like the red badge of courage for years and years and years. Oh my God, I don't know if I can do that. But honestly, it's like when you are really, really ready and really, really dedicated to positive change, it's absolutely a decision. It's like I am making a conscious choice to just drop the defensiveness, drop the guardedness, drop all of that stuff. Because when you are getting into a relationship with someone, again, whether it's romantic or, family's known you forever, but family can kind of push you aside too, or friendships, maybe not so much in professional relationships, probably takes longer for that. People see somebody who's guarded and somebody who's not willing to open up, and they're like protecting themselves. A certain amount of protection is healthy and safe, but if you're protecting yourself to the point where you won't let anyone in, that's not such a good thing. And I remember when I was like in my 20s and 30s, when I was like going through all that ugly phase of marriage and divorce and this guy and that relationship and everything. I remember that I could really be a chameleon, and I didn't think of it as like I'm lying to people. I thought of it as I'm almost like giving good customer service in a way, but I'm not selling it. I guess I was selling myself in a certain way. I could be a chameleon, and I especially did that when I would be around older people. I would be like this uber polite human being, which, there's nothing wrong with being polite. I think being friendly and warm is great, but it was coming from kind of a fake chameleon-like place, and not from a authentic, I'm genuinely interested in this person kind of place. I hope that makes sense. You kind of see a different. All right, so I'm offering like 3 different pieces of authenticity. So first one, release your broken heart, and it really is a decision. I have a friend, she's like 2 years younger than me. So, and she's never been married. And, when I tell her these things, she's like, oh, I can't do that. I can't do that. Okay, fine. Stay single. Okay. Right. All right. So step number 2 in being authentic is that being authentic doesn't mean verbal diarrhea. Okay. So self-expression is what we're talking about here, not this sense of wounded self-protectionism. You don't have to tell them everything about yourself right off the bat, okay? It just means appropriate to the circumstances, like the worst thing you can do, and you probably know this already, the worst thing you can do in a new relationship, friendship, whatever, is to just like dump a bunch of crap about how these people took advantage of you, or this person broke your heart, or whatever. Because at first, if they're a nice person, they're going to be empathetic, and after a little while, they might start thinking, what the heck is wrong with this person? I mean, I don't need all this drama in my life, right? So, it works against you, being that. So just what's appropriate to the situation. Okay. Authenticity is not like a performance. It's like your life being in alignment with who you say you are, right? So if you, like, let's say, for example, you have a job and you're always talking about how much you hate the job, but you're not doing anything to change the circumstances. That's an example of your life being out of alignment with what you say that you want. So to be in alignment, you would like, maybe you start sending resumes out, or you start taking a class to improve your skills, or, whatever it is, but it's like you're being in alignment. Or if you say you want a certain thing in your life, you want a certain kind of person in your life. It's like, what are you doing to attract that into your life? So, and a lot of what it is it's kind of like, I'm going a little deeper than I intended, being sort of a vibrational match to that. So like if you said, I want a person who's successful in business, it's like, and I've had girlfriends where it's like, I want someone who's interested in sort of, she's entrepreneurial and having her own business, because that's where I was at, right? But it's hard for you to ask for those things if you don't sort of vibe on the same level, Now, if you say, I want somebody who's rich, you don't necessarily have to be rich, but you also can't be a person who says money is the root of all evil. Does that make sense? So, and I'm going to give you one more bonus thought on being authentic. And I learned this from a guy that I worked with. He and his wife were like hiking buddies with me. And then eventually he hired me, and, life moved on, whatever. But I learned this really important lesson from him. And he took a genuine interest in people. He would ask questions, and he would do it in a smiling way. So it didn't come across like he was interrogating you or interviewing you, but just like a genuine interest, and people loved him. People loved him, you know. He was not a physically attractive guy. His wife was much more attractive than he was, but people loved that he took an interest in them, which meant he was a good listener. So anyway, that's enough for now. Those are things that I learned, I'm going to say in my mid to late 40s, you know. Yeah, I would say 40s. So anyway, if you have questions or thoughts about it, I'd love it if you'd share a comment. Also, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. And I hope you're having a wonderful day. Take care. Bye-bye.